There is an invisible difference between ordinary people and those who seem to operate on a completely different mental level. It's not something you can see at first glance. It doesn't show up on a SMS, it doesn't appear in motivational speeches, and it's rarely taught anywhere. Yet this difference defines who creates, who leads, who innovates, and who spends life simply reacting to the world. It's a quiet ritual, practiced away from noise, away from external validation, away from the need to prove anything. A ritual so simple that many dismiss it, yet so powerful that it shapes entire destinies. You may have noticed this without being able to explain it. People who remain clear under extreme pressure. People who don't panic when everything feels uncertain. People who seem to see paths where others only see obstacles. It's not because they know more. It's because they think differently, or rather, because they know when not to think. They know when to pause, when to quiet the mind, when to create space before acting. While most people wake up and immediately plug into the noise of the world, these individuals do the exact opposite. They begin with silence. Not perfect external silence, but deliberate internal silence. A state where the mind isn't being pulled by notifications, comparisons, other people's expectations, or manufactured urgency. That initial moment sets the tone for everything that follows. Modern life has conditioned people to react to messages, to news, to problems, to pressure. Very few have been taught how to initiate consciously, to choose before responding, to observe before acting. And that's exactly where the silent ritual comes in. It's not about escaping the world, but about organizing your inner world before facing it. Here's a fundamental truth that changes everything. Geniuses are not people who think all the time. They are people who know when to stop thinking. They understand that a crowded mind is not a powerful mind. A powerful mind is a clear mind. And clarity doesn't come from more stimulation, it comes from the temporary absence of it. Most people live with their minds constantly occupied. Thoughts about the past mix with anxieties about the future, creating a permanent state of tension. In that state, decisions aren't born from clarity, but from fear, urgency, or comparison. The silent ritual interrupts this cycle. It creates a space between stimulus and response. And in that space, freedom is born. This may sound too simple, and that's exactly why it works. The world expects complex formulas, elaborate methods, sophisticated systems. But real transformation begins with something far more basic: learning to sit with yourself in silence without discomfort, learning to observe your own mind without getting lost in it. Geniuses understand something most people overlook. The greatest enemy of intelligence isn't ignorance, it's noise. Constant noise blocks deep perception. It fragments attention, drains energy, and weakens intuition. Without realizing it, most people live in a reactive mental state, responding to everything while choosing almost nothing. The silent ritual doesn't appear on the schedule, but it supports every meaningful decision. It happens before writing, before speaking, before deciding, before acting. It's a moment where the person asks, often without words, what actually matters right now, and that question changes everything. Watch creative minds, strategists, deep thinkers. Before they produce something meaningful, they pause. Before they respond, they breathe. Before they decide, they create space, not out of insecurity, but out of respect for their own mind. They know decisions made in noise are rarely wise. Now comes an important shift. Most people believe they don't have time for this ritual. Life feels too fast. Pausing feels like a luxury. But in reality, it's the absence of this ritual that makes life chaotic. The less internal silence you have, the more mistakes you make, the more emotional wear and tear you accumulate. The time saved by not pausing is later paid for in exhaustion, confusion, and regret. The silent ritual doesn't require hours. It requires intention. Sometimes it's 2 minutes. Sometimes it's 3 conscious breaths. Sometimes it's simply closing your eyes and feeling your body before acting. The power isn't in the duration, it's in the consistency. Here's something almost no one realizes. When you don't create this space, you're not deciding, you're repeating. Repeating old patterns, limiting beliefs, inherited fears, automatic habits. The silent ritual breaks that repetition. It allows you to see thoughts as thoughts, not as commands. Geniuses don't believe everything they think. Ordinary people do. That single sentence explains a lot. When the mind is noisy, every thought feels urgent and true. When the mind is quiet, thoughts lose their grip. You get to choose which ones deserve attention and which ones should be let go. That's the real power of the ritual. It gives control back to you. It turns the mind from a tyrant into a tool. It allows you to act from clarity, not impulse. Now imagine the long-term effect of this. A day that begins with silence leads to better decisions. Better decisions led to more aligned actions. Aligned actions produce more consistent results. Consistent results build confidence, and confidence reduces internal noise even further. It's a virtuous cycle that reinforces itself. Ordinary people live trapped in external noise. Geniuses are anchored in internal silence. That silence isn't empty, it's fertile. It's where original ideas emerge. It's where intuition speaks. It's where the mind connects dots that logic alone can't. Noise fragments. Silence integrates. Now be honest with yourself. How many moments of true silence exist in your day? Moments when you're not consuming content, responding to messages, solving problems, or distracting yourself. If the answer is almost none, that explains a lot about the mental confusion you feel. The good news is this isn't a personal flaw. It's cultural conditioning, and conditioning can be broken. It starts with one simple decision, creating space before action. This silent ritual doesn't just transform productivity, it reshapes identity. When you act from clarity, you begin to see yourself as more grounded. When you feel more grounded, you trust yourself more. When you trust yourself, you don't need to prove anything. And when you don't need to prove anything, you move with a calm that unsettles chaos. This is the quiet climax of transformation. Not an emotional explosion, but a deep realization. The quality of your life is proportional to the quality of your attention. And attention needs silence to exist. The world will stay loud. Demands will keep coming. Problems will continue to appear. The silent ritual doesn't eliminate them, it simply prevents you from being consumed by them. It creates a stable center in the middle of instability. From today on, you can choose to live differently from most people. Not by doing more, but by being more present. Not by reacting faster, but by choosing more consciously. Not by filling every space with noise, but by letting silence work in your favor. Start small. Tomorrow, before you pick up your phone, sit in silence for a few minutes. Before responding to something important, take a deep breath. Before deciding, observe your thoughts without immediately following them. That's the ritual. Simple, quiet, powerful. And if this message resonated with you, if it awakened something that had been dormant, write in the comments, I choose silence before action. Subscribe to the channel to continue exploring content that elevates clarity, awareness, and intentional living. Leave a like, it helps this message reach people who are still trapped in noise, but ready for something more. Remember, the world doesn't change when you make more noise. It changes when you learn to listen to the right silence.